Yo, what up? It's your boy with JJ Stone, aka O Doctor. Welcome back to another DocTales. So I thought to myself for a second, I introduce these people to you with them off the screen, like you're magically not going to know who they are. But if you've clicked on this, you've already seen the person's name and their What am I doing? Who am I fooling? It's not you. You're too smart for me. So here's my guest for today, Jason Howell. Say hello to the people, Jason.
What's up, people? What's up, O Doctor? It's good
What's
to see you.
It's good to see you too. So first of all, isn't it fun the game because you're in the same kind of market? You know, you do videos, you reviews, you do shows. The magistry that you have to do every single episode, every single show, and you're wondering like, wait a second, they can read, right? Like they've already they've already got the general idea of what's going on in the show. Your show's all about Android. Are we talking Mac today? What are we?
Yeah, exactly. There's no surprise. There's no mystery, right? Sometimes though, it's like a guest or whatever that can be a surprise. And we've gone over the years kind of through the different kind of like machinations of trying to figure out, does it make more sense to keep that hidden and have it be like a reveal, or does it make more sense to like tease it in advance? And it doesn't seem like any of them really make that much of a difference. People know what they expect out of a show like what we do. And
and and
yeah, it just goes where it goes.
and unless it's like a real surprise where like somebody
Yeah.
just pops up over the house or something that hangs out. But I digress. Let me get back. So Jason and I are longtime work friends slash we text each other once or twice a year randomly for something weird. like a random check-in on like, hey, do you use this? Do you know about that? Have you heard about
Yeah.
this? And been friends for a long time. Very solid individual, good dude. So
Thank you.
my first question to you is blink twice if you need help. The way your desk is set
Oh.
up, I assume that the family has taken over the rest of the house, and this is your last stand. This is your OK
Yeah.
Corral, and you are circling the wagons in this corner, like with like machine guns and defense weapons. This is
I
what
need a newspaper to hold up to show you that it's really today.
yeah,
You know?
this is what I imagine your corner desk like. Like you got booby traps and a moat around the outside, and you're like, look, I need to work. You can't have this. I need something for myself.
That's pretty much exactly what happened, right? When COVID lockdown started and Twit announced like, all right, so we got to figure out how we do all these shows from home. Like we looked around our house, and it's not like we have like a small house. I mean, there's enough rooms for people to live, but there's not enough rooms for there to be an extra room,
Yeah.
right? For like an office or whatever. We have a den downstairs that would be ideal for something like this, except it doesn't have a door. It's entirely open to the rest of the house. And especially when lockdown happened, the kids are
Home
home.
from
They're on,
school.
and
Yeah.
they're young enough that they make noise no matter how many times I ask them not to. The kitchen is literally the room that connects to the den. So if anyone's in the kitchen making food, it was just not ideal. So then it was like, okay, well then what are we gonna do? Because that's absolutely not gonna work. And this is the corner of our master, kind of like our master suite, our
Yeah.
main bedroom. And I had to kind of like push the bed to the side to make this corner work. Like literally, this was the only usable space that I could conceive in this house where I could close a door and know that like any of the noise that's happening in the house is happening far enough away that it won't come in here. And I mean, it's not ideal, but it has worked. It has come through in a pinch, and yeah, it looks a little hostagey, but
I,
it's
I've
what we got.
I've been in that situation for the same reason. I once lived in a place back when I first started recording, and the opposite side of my house, the neighbor had chickens. And so where
Yes.
my extra bedroom would have been to have like a quote unquote office, the chickens were just morning, night, the dog or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
So I literally ended up putting it like in the living room, just like you are, in the corner in the opposite side of the house. So people would come in, you see like the couches and the TV and stuff. They're like, why is your desk like angled at? It's like, because I need a space that I can just form a background for.
Yeah.
And you a long time ago on Twitter. Like if anybody goes back and look at Twit and some of the things where I just looked like I was a hostage, it was just a black background.
Yep.
I was in the same situation because of chickens. I was being held hostage by chickens. At least it was your family, your loved ones holding you up over there. But for me, it was the
Well,
chickens.
I mean, I can identify with that too, right? Like we live in Petaluma, and Petaluma, one thing that's pretty common here is people have chickens, right? They have chicken coops and everything. It's a pretty it's a relatively common thing for just random Joe Schmo person to have a chicken coop in their backyard and chickens in it, laying eggs and everything. Literally, our neighbors right on the other side of the fence have or slash had a chicken coop. They just moved like 5 months ago. But I've had to deal with that here too, because it's not very far away. And so, all I can do is just close the window
Yeah.
and hope for the best. And so far, I mean, also the microphones that we use, the Heil PR40s, they've been the workhorse of Twit for as long as I've been at Twit, and for a reason. Like, they do an amazing job of isolating sound.
Yeah.
So, 99% of the people who ever watch any of the shows that I've done in the last couple of years probably can't hear a single thing. And I guarantee you there's noise going on. It's
Well,
just you can't hear it because
and
the mic's good.
and that is the difference too. I used to use an AKG mic, and it was almost too good. I'd have to turn down the sensitivity so much that it altered my voice a little bit. It was annoying.
Yeah.
And now I use these Rodes. This is the Rode Go, which is the worst Rode I use, but I use the Rodecaster, and that one's amazing. But I switched it out for whatever reasons. But right now, my lighting is terrible because I switched to new lights, and I'm still trying to dial them in the right way, but I'm just being lazy about it instead of sitting down and dedicating an hour to figuring it out.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
get on
Yeah.
and do the shows because I'm back in the show mode. So I'm like, at least I'm here. You can see my face. We're living the dream. As I say that, how much does it irk you in this COVID world when you watch millionaires, directors, actors, news anchors on Zoom calls and their mics are terrible and their cameras are terrible? Like,
It doesn't compute for me. Like, I truly don't understand how someone can work in the industry of moving, video and audio and communicating on a wide degree. And I mean, most of these people that this happens to, right? Like, it's literally their job to make a high quality product on
yes.
their end. But when they end up going on something else, it's like I don't know, I'll just fire up that computer and see what happens. And I like it confounds me. I don't know why or how that happens, but it's kind of ridiculous. I
So
totally agree.
I had a friend who works for NBC Saturday Night Live, and they were trying to get me to consult for the home webcam system. And I'm like, what do you need me for? And he's like, we need a regular person who knows how to use a Canon or a Sony camera. They were still bringing in $30,000, $50,000 cameras and sending them out to
Right.
people's houses, and they had not enough bandwidth for it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the bandwidth that they need is like they don't understand that they can just spend $3,000-$4,000 and get a superior product. Like, they did not
Totally.
comprehend it, and I'm like, how is that possible? It's like, because they won't listen. They're not that they're old media, but they're used
Locked in
to
their
their
ways.
media,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
it's
Legacy media.
yeah,
Yeah, I
legacy
mean, I
media.
guess it's the same as
And I
old
was
media,
like,
but
and then they wouldn't even allow them to bring anybody in to like just consult or talk to them because they just refused to do it. It reminds me of like not reminds me, but the one thing the sport has changed, football. Like, I don't know if you watch football, but they
Mhm.
started bringing down the Sony 4K, 8K cameras, like the handheld cameras. And the shots were beautiful because they're using a 1.2 aperture on a lens, and they're just live streaming it out to the thing. And they're like, wow, this looks so great. How does this look? I was like, because they're using a different camera. Like, when you spend $100,000 on this massive camera that can shoot 400 yards away, it gives
Mhm.
you a different focal length and perspective. You're never going to get that on-field level that you get from the photographers and things like that. So
Yeah.
just from you and I sitting here right now, your lighting looks amazing. So that's what I was thinking about. So I got to fix my lighting. Even though I'm a dark and moody guy, I like being in my dungeon always.
Yeah.
Um, but
I like having my dungeon too. Honestly, when I like the lighting in this area is, in my opinion, it's okay. It's almost a little too light. Like, at times it feels like it's just like a total light wash. And I wish that there was a little bit of extra kind of contrast. But I'm not a lighting guy. Like,
yeah.
literally the light that I have here. I wish that my camera was more portable, but the light that I have here, I'll just move it real quick, is this like desktop sitting kind of white panel that I did get from Twit. Anthony Nielsen at Twit gave me this. What he's like, we got this sitting around. Will this be useful? And then my wife, she used to own a business in San Francisco, and they used to do some kind of like record videos. It's like a health industry sort of thing. So they would record videos and exercises and stuff. And she, on a whim, at some point picked up these like lighting kits. These like, on a big boom. There's
Hmm.
probably like a grid of like 10 10 white light bulbs inside of this thing. And when lockdown happened, it was like, what the heck am I going to do? Like I had just a regular desk lamp as my initial lighting setup. And I was like, there's got to be something better. And she told me about that. And so like none of this was really that vetted through Twit. You know, it's not like they had a big lighting kit to give me. It was
Yeah.
really just thrown together. So I'm actually amazed that it turned out the way that it did, considering it was really just scrapping pieces together to make it happen.
It's the world we live in at the moment. What
Yes,
we
it
got to
is.
do.
Indeed.
So,
Totally.
where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho.
Idaho.
Everybody calls it Boise, but it's
Boise.
Boise.
See, I hate the no. Let me rephrase this. I dislike everything about the Midwest for those reasons. Every time I meet someone from the Midwest and I ask them about anything, they tell me that
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing everything wrong. Like, so I think that you guys are the ones that there, and you just like, we got to make it our own. We're cool.
Yeah,
We're gonna
right.
change it up because every single person I talk to, no matter where, it's not Illinois. It's Illinois. It's not Illinois.
Right.
It's Illinois. Like every single person does what you just did.
It's not Iowa, it's Iowa.
Yeah, like come on, man. What do we do? Boise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what does it matter? Language is a constant evolution. So, you know, at this point, probably more people call it Boise than they do Boise, but it's ingrained in me from being a kid there.
Exactly. Your suffering will not make me suffer, is what I'm trying to tell you. You know, they tortured you and told you were special. I'm telling you, you're regular, degular. That's what it is.
Hey, I embrace my regularity.
That's what's going on. So school age all through there from there?
Yeah, I lived in Boise until I was, gosh, I think I moved away from Boise around 21. So I lived there
Oh,
through most of my younger formative years, you know what I mean? And at a certain point I just kind of hit a point where I just realized like there's got to be something else that's maybe a little more exciting, maybe gives me a little bit more opportunity. I also, you know, growing up in Boise, Boise's changed a lot, no question. When I was a
yeah.
kid, it was a pretty small. It felt very small. I mean, well, actually, when I was a kid, it didn't feel small because I had nothing to compare it to. But as I grew a little bit older, it felt like a really small town. Even though, you know, it had, I can't remember how many, like 120,000, 130,000. It's not, which I feel like is pretty small, but it's not tiny. And now it's just exploded, right? So everybody that I talk to now, if I say I'm from Boise, they're like, "Oh, Boise! I've heard so much about Boise. Yeah, I've heard that's a great place." But when I was a kid, it was not that. People would, you know, ask me, "Where is Boise? Is that in Iowa?" You know, they
Yeah.
literally didn't know
Yeah.
where Boise was. And you know, I also kind of hit a point where I realized living in Boise, it was a very just homogenous lifestyle. You know, it was a very homogenous life. I it was a whole lot of white, to be completely honest. And I realized in myself that I wanted to live somewhere where there were cultures, where there were people from all over, so that I didn't end up getting locked into this like fear state that I feel like I saw and recognized in a lot of people that I knew in the Boise and the Idaho state and Boise area. And so at a certain point, it was like, all right, well, then where can I move? And, you know, and kind of kick myself out of that. And San Francisco is where I ended up.
I imagine you watching Aladdin and listening to A Whole New World, discovering yourself as a young man and thinking there is a whole new world out there.
There's something else.
There is
Aladdin, I
something
feel
out
like
there.
maybe Aladdin was a little too like I was a little too old for the Aladdin time, but
It might have been sunk in your brain subconsciously to get. Don't mess up a good story with the truth, okay? Never mess up a good story with the truth. So, grade school, like, what was your favorite subjects? What were you jamming out with?
favorite subject in grade
Were you
school.
an
That's a
early
really
science nerd? Were you a literature guy? Did you like reading? Did you just say forget everything and just go to the gym?
Yeah, I when I think of elementary school or grade school, whatever you want to call it, and I think of like what really captured me. I mean, it was probably just art because there was creativity involved. I really was not for most of my school years, I really did not care for school. And I would honestly say I didn't really do that great in school either. I mean, I did fine. I was always a C student.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Enough to kind of get by. Every once in a while, I get those occasional D's to wake me up. And I suppose if I was going to get an A or a higher grade, it was probably going to be in something creative, like art. And I actually enjoyed art. Not that I was very good at it, but it was enjoyable to me. Everything else, I don't know. Like, I wonder if I was to go back in time, if I would have been diagnosed as like attention deficit or whatever nowadays. And I don't even know that I'm necessarily that now.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time kind of like focusing on things. I just kind of like didn't care about school. School didn't give me a really great feeling a lot of the times.
So one of the things about being in a quote unquote small town, or in your case, like I would liken it to being in the South or being in the Midwest. There's certain parts of the country, and then there's certain towns, right? Like when you're in, I went to high school in a small town. Like I graduated with 64 kids. So when you talk about small, like I
Yeah.
lived in the smallest town in the state of New
Yeah,
Jersey,
that's pretty
which
small.
it's
Yeah.
New Jersey, so there's people everywhere. But my town, my is small. The opportunities for things are different. There's not a lot of things going on, and so that makes you feel like, oh, this is small. Like I don't need to do anything. What does it matter? It's not a big deal. I feel like when you live in the Midwest, things happen where it's like people aren't pushing education like they do in certain bellwether states where they're like, look,
Yeah.
you've got to do this. It's more like, hey, this is the basics, get the basics, you're cool. There's not a huge drive for it, which would lead to, because I lived in the South too for 4 years, I saw it where people were just like, hey, I'm going to school, I'm getting my grades, it's not a big deal, we're just here. You know what I mean? Let's just, everybody
Mhm.
stay calm, don't blow anything up, and everything will be fine. Whereas when I came back to Jersey, it was like I when I moved to Florida, they thought I was a genius. When I moved back to Jersey, they thought I was an idiot. Like it was, I very much see how, Florida has a lot of things where they call it Florida man syndrome, where there's just like, I attribute a lot of that to the education, where it's not like they don't go to school. It's not like everyone's dumb, but they don't press it like certain states do. And
Yeah.
so, I found in the South and in the Midwest, it's like that, where you could just be like, hey, I like art enough to do art. I like school enough to not be a jerk and not do my work. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
So I can
Yeah.
read, I can write, I can comprehend things. Like I'm doing all right, but I'm
Yeah.
in Boise. What do you want me to do? What?
Yeah, I'm getting the skills that I really need to live. And now that I'm thinking about it, another aspect of school that I actually really enjoyed was writing. I actually was pretty interested in writing. I remember there was a time where I discovered a typewriter, like an old school typewriter, in my parents' attic, and I pulled that down. I was like, I'm gonna write a book. Of course, I had no idea like what I was gonna write or anything, but the idea of like writing a book was very
Yeah,
appealing to me. And punching it out on the keyboard. And this was the Doogie Howser era as well. So
yeah,
like the idea of like typing my journal entries into my Commodore 64,
yeah,
because that's what Doogie does.
yeah. It's so funny too because my aunt had it was an electric typewriter and it had like the one line screen that showed you
Oh,
like
okay.
four of your words coming up as you were typing them.
That was high tech.
Oh man, that thing was fancy. Like all the kids from school would come over and we'd write up our reports there. We'd sit there and watch each other, like hurry up, bro. Like we got, it's only a one pager, but we're sitting there. I was like, yo, you don't have this at your house. Like I was the shit because I had that first. And I ended
Yeah.
up getting one of the first computers from my dad. But again, it was just funny because like typing, it is one of those things that is inherent. That's why these keyboards come with the click sound and they make all these high, because there's
Yeah.
something that is aesthetically pleasing about hearing yourself type. And it's so dumb.
Oh
But
yeah.
as soon
That's
as you
so,
said
so
that, I
great.
instantly started thinking like, man, I wish I had a real typewriter again. Like talk about deep keys, man. You felt like
Well,
you were
yeah.
doing something. You felt like
Literally
you were
that
doing something.
travel was required in order to get the head to go whoa and travel all that distance. Like it's not just a little bit of travel because it's comfortable. It's like you're literally pushing the lever with enough force to get that thing to touch the paper.
Yeah.
So
So
it has purpose. That
there's
travel has purpose.
there's a 4 page Jason Howell novel somewhere hidden in
Oh
grandma's
boy.
attic somewhere. There's a four
Yeah.
page.
Thankfully, my mom has saved some of the stuff, and she ended up giving me, quite a few years back at this point, but ended up giving me this story that I wrote about, my hand becoming a stapler or something like that. But that's about the only thing that, that maybe a couple of other stories. Who the heck knows what happened to the rest of it? I also used to make little comic books with my friends, and we would trade comic books and everything. They were probably horrible. I can't find any of those. Who knows? My parents probably found them in a stack and they were like, well, he's never going to want these, and probably tossed them.
These will embarrass the family name.
Yes,
we have to
exactly.
burn them and put them in the lake. Um, so, any fights in school? Were you a good kid? Did you keep your hands to yourself? Did
So,
somebody bother you?
yeah,
What
so
happened?
I didn't really, I was not an instigator. I do remember one fight, one single fight, with this guy, Nathan. And it had to do, I mean, this was my childhood, right? Like
Yeah.
I was a nerd for the most part.
Statute of limitations are good. We're good.
I had a Commodore 64 and I was really into it. And I remember trading a game with this guy, Nathan. And I can't remember exactly what happened with the game, but he was all pissed. So I must have, I don't know if I erased it or what happened. But, anyways, I remember fighting him, and he ran for me. Like he started the fight and he ran towards me. And all I remember is like putting him into a headlock and like throwing him on the ground and walking away. Like it wasn't much of a fight. It wasn't like a fist throwing thing. It was like, get away from me.
That was a good nerd evasive tactic for fighting over a video game. That is what's to be expected, especially from a friend. It's hard to fight a friend. I don't think I've ever gotten in a fight with a friend, like physically. I've threatened their lives multiple times. I might threaten your life by the end of the show, but I mean, I've never like thrown fisticuffs with friends. It's hard. So that was a good move by you, because mistakes happen in Nerdville, and you let Nate survive his.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's also, I think my not engaging in the fight was a testament to the fact that my dad put me in karate from a young age. So I had 7 years of karate when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and
they preach self-defense, but also composure, and and
like fighting is a last resort. That was,
yes.
And I really didn't want to fight. I actually didn't like karate that much. I mean, I went, really, when I look back at it now, I realize it was one of those examples of my dad, yes, wanting me to be able to protect myself, but also kind of living through me to a certain degree. It's kind of like he could see me go to, these fighting competitions and everything. And he really got into it, but I didn't really enjoy it. The last couple of years of karate, I was really over it. And I finally, got up the courage to tell my dad, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that was it. But I'm also grateful that he did that, because it really did teach me about kind of, about doing what you can to kind of not fight for the most part, which is not to say you're always a pushover, but fighting isn't always the answer. And maybe there is a way out that makes, that satisfies the situation without having to get physical, because I've never gotten into a fight since, for whatever reason.
My daughter watches these shows, so don't ever think that you could challenge me and get up the courage to tell me that you do not want to be a ninja anymore. I refuse to accept it as your father. I will disown you, and do not try it. Do not test me. I'm looking directly in the camera and I'm speaking to you, Leah. You will be a weapon of destruction for as long as I rule this earth. Anyway. So, it's funny because she does love it. Like, when she sees new things, she's like, I want to try that. I want to do that. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, she's super accomplished. I have to say, I'm super impressed.
Yeah,
you've done a really great job as a father.
And again, is not the living through me thing, even though now it's come to that because of wrestling now. But when she was younger, I have sisters, and I have one sister who I'm afraid of. Like, a guy put his hands on her, she hit him with a frying pan. I'm like, well, I ain't got to worry about protecting you, because you won't protect yourself.
No kidding.
Like, she does not play around. She is not letting anybody put their hands on her. My other sister is a little bit softer, and I remember something happening and my dad having to do what he had to do, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know, having a daughter, I'd go to jail. Like, I go to jail. So I was like, the only way to prevent me from going to jail is if I make sure that this kid can handle business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true.
As much as they say, oh, your daughter's so beautiful, you're going to have to get a shotgun. You have to, like, guess what? When she starts dating, she's going to come home when she wants to come home. I was like, and at least if nothing else, I've given her a fighting chance to protect herself. When she walks around school, even as a middle schooler, because the middle school is attached to high school, she's got high school dudes like high-fiving her, like, yo, I heard that you wrestling and blah, 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 like you do MMA and you do, like, so she's already created this aura and perception of herself, and it gives her confidence, when dealing with certain situations, like, and she's not a bully. Like, she sticks
Right.
up for kids that are bullied. Like this one girl moved to school, and I don't want to butcher this and sound stupid, but if I say it wrong, I apologize. I think she was a Sikh, but she was Turkish, and she had to wear the thing, and kids were making fun of her. And Leah's like, nobody let her sit there, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, get to lunch early, sit down, invite her over, and if anybody tells you that she has to move, tell them make me move. I'm like, and she did that, and then nobody wants to mess with her, so they let the girl sit there. And I'm like, see, easy, just the perception of her, whatever. It gives her, attache. Thankfully, she's a good kid. She's not a bully. I thank God, because I thought about that too. I'm like, here I am teaching this kid how to punch, kick, ninja rope, and then she runs out here, and I get a call one day like, well, your daughter is running a little mafia gangster mob in school, and the teachers owe her money, and now the teachers aren't showing up to teach. And I'm like, oh wow, my bad. Let me fix that. So at least he's doing the right thing by that. And I tell everybody who has a daughter that they need to put their daughters in some form of at least jujitsu. It teaches you grappling and things like that.
Totally.
Georgia Dow, like she's a champion, like, and she's tiny.
Yep.
Go roll around her. You think you could do something or want to bother, because you never know who you're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
So
that's really that's been on my mind a lot lately. And this is where I kind of go up against my own experience versus what you're saying, kind of this responsibility about being a parent and giving our children the tools that they need to survive and to thrive in this world, right? Because I've got two daughters, 8, and one just turned 12 last month. And especially with our 12-year-old, like she's at this point where her, I mean, you've experienced this too, right? Like this is the point where she's transitioning from being a kid into being a teenager, and everything is shifting and changing for her. Her emotions are all over the place and everything. I want her to have the tools to protect herself, but then I run up against my own kind of experience where I'm like, yeah, but when I was a kid, I really didn't want to do karate, and my dad made me do karate. But so it's like finding, how do I negotiate those two polar opposite sides so that she gets the tools she needs to protect herself without me feeling like I'm pushing her in a direction that maybe she doesn't want to go. But
I'm gonna fix this for you right now, and you can also show this to your wife as backup and support. Forget how you feel. Your feelings are inconsequential. You now have daughters, okay? So the world is a beautiful, ugly place. Lord willing, your children will grow up and never have any kind of physical or issue altercation that they have to deal with ever. Even if you stick the kid in there and say, hey, this is something I did as a kid, I'd like you to try it. Just give me a year straight. Even if you just gave him a year straight, one thing it does is, the reason I did it for Leah when she was 4 is because I knew I was going to have her play sports. It teaches you how to listen, respect, and respond to someone else, and as you know, indeed, being in there. It really does. It's the whole respect issue and things like that. And then it's if your daughter's 12, right? Like I imagine she's never hit anybody or punched anybody or done anything. And so it feels weird when you first go to punch that bag, kick, move your body in that way. And just from, even if she never goes to competition and has anybody hit her, just her punching a bag, hitting a mat, like feeling that motion and releasing that energy, knowing that you could do it if you had to do it, is a good confidence boost. It's true. Good for mental stimulation. Like there's other things because I would say raising into people like I'm got the kid about to be an assassin or something on the weekends, but the confidence level, like when she was, I think when she was like 6, we called it McDojo. It was just like the puppy mill place or whatever, where they just punch things and stuff like that. And like people used to think Lee was crazy because when it was her time to go punch the bag, like I'll post a picture of it, like the veins in her neck are popping out because she's ki-eyeing and she's like, I am like, I've killed this bag and it will die today. And it was just cool to see, them get that part of herself out. You know what I mean? Because totally. It's just like when kids when they're little and they run around there screaming, they're so happy, like the joy to have that kind of joy. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, at 12 and 8, just to give them the opportunity to release that energy, going into the teenage era, they start getting the hormones like that. Hey, you know what? Go punch this bag for an hour twice a week. Get out of the kind of little frustrations you've got while you're also learning something. And if you say, hey, just give me a year at it, at the end of it, if she ends up loving it and she wants to continue, great. If she doesn't, hey, you tried it. I appreciate you. I thank you. We'll reassess after a year.
Yeah, yeah, that really works. I appreciate that. Another thing that kind of that occurs to me is that a lot of times, well, I know what my own experience, right? When I was a kid, I didn't express anger a lot. Like I
Hmm.
was always a pretty happy-go-lucky kid,
Yeah.
and I think I kind of like pushed anger away, but anger is inside all of us, but it's easy to like pretend that it's not there because anger can complicate things or it
Yeah.
makes things negative or bad or whatever. That at least gives kids an outlet to say, hey, you know what, anger can be a good thing. Here's a healthy way to express it. Punch this bag
Yeah.
and let go of that anger
Yeah.
energy or whatever it is, and there's a way to express it safely.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
funny too. Like, and again, it's one of those things where my biggest issue growing up and throughout everything was, you're you're trying to make her into a tomboy, and I'm like, you're thinking of like, so only boys can protect
Yeah,
themselves. Only
right.
boys can, like, you're putting a thing like my daughter's still wearing dresses. You know what I mean? Like, she wears makeup. Like, she came in here yesterday, and I was mad because I forgot that it was one of the first warm days, and I'm like, what are you doing in shorts? Like, why are your legs out? Like, what? What are we doing? And I hadn't been outside yet. She's like, it's nice out today. It's spring weather. And I'm like, whatever. You know, again, just dad moments and real squid. You're like, that shirt's too small. The length is not
Yeah,
right. I don't like the color. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's, but at the same time, I got to let her be her and let her do what she wants to
Yeah,
do.
indeed.
And I also, I tell you what, once the kid starts coming to me and telling me she wants to wear a crop top and she wants to wear these shoes or whatever, I feel way more confident now that I know that she can tussle a little bit now. Like I
No
said,
kidding.
right now she's in the phase where she's like, all the boys are scared of me, Dad. Nobody wants to talk to me. I'm like, yes.
That's good.
It's a
It's
dumb.
all coming according to the plan.
I was like, I'm like, don't worry about these high school boys. They young. They don't know no way. Wait till you get to college or after college, you got three
Yeah.
jobs and you're lonely and you're about to turn into a cat lady. Right then, that's when you find your gem. That's when you find the man of your dreams.
Yes, indeed.
So,
You're a
um,
good dad, I gotta say.
hey,
You are.
you're doing a good job too. We're doing the best we can. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
Prom. You go to prom?
I did go to prom.
One prom, two
It went
prom?
went to my senior prom, and at the time, I had I had a very brief stint with a girl early like I think in 10th grade. Very, very short. She was probably my only like girlfriend warm up, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. That sounds kind of weird, actually. But basically, prom came around in my senior year, and there was a girl who was a friend who I wanted to, potentially see as more of a friend, and so I ended up inviting her to prom, and that was kind of the beginning of our relationship for the most part.
Um, and after high school, college.
I went to college right out of high school, went to Boise State University,
Boise State.
and
That's what everybody knows. I heard of Boise State. I heard of Boise State College. Okay, Boise
with the
State.
Smurf turf.
That's right.
The
That's right.
Smurf turf
Exactly.
football. Yeah, everybody
Exactly.
knows about the blue blue field.
That's literally like when you said Boise earlier. That's literally all that comes to my mind is
That's what
Boise
comes to most
State
people's
and
mind.
then the turf. That's so funny.
Exactly, the bluegrass.
Yep, there it is.
Went to Boise State immediately out of high school. Had no idea why or what I was doing there. Just thought, well, this is what you do when you graduate high school.
Yeah.
I'm not going to not go to college. So I went. I did okay. That girl that I invited to prom, we continued to see each other. She ended up going to what is it, Pocatello for Idaho State University, and so I spent like a semester there because she was there. I was like, oh, I'll check it out. I was really flailing because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think my declared major was mass communications, but like, okay, what inside of that? That's a
Yeah.
huge kind of area. There's no definition, whatever. Finally, at some point, I was back at Boise State, and I failed out of racquetball, and I realized at that point I was like, maybe I just need to take a break from school. Like school, I don't have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm not enjoying it. It's not like I'm working towards a goal really, other than to just be here. So that failure of racquetball was my reason to stop going to school and just to do it another time, hopefully.
Racquetball brought the house of cards
Racquetball.
down.
Yeah, which is a shame because I actually really enjoy playing racquetball. So I don't know how I failed out of it. I probably just didn't go. I
Cause I
I
had
just
a
wasn't in
bad
it.
day. Take it one down. Um, where'd you meet the wife?
Met my wife in San Francisco, actually. So it's actually a story. When I moved, well, I guess it always is. When I moved to San Francisco, it was because while I was living in Boise, not going to school, I met a girl online. And this was like 96, 95, 96. So this was early internet
You met her
days.
in
I met her on
ICQ.
IRC. Or no, it wasn't ICQ, it was IRC.
IRC, okay.
And yeah. And it was like a movie.
There's only 3 places you could have met her. It was AOL
Totally.
chat, it was ICQ, or IRC. It's literally
Exactly.
there's only 3 places.
You were so close.
As soon as you said 90, I was like, okay, well, let's narrow it down because there's only 3.
Ow. And met her at a movies forum. We ended up chatting all night. And then we ended up kind of like chatting with each other for like 3 months straight. We never once exchanged photos. Eventually we hopped on the phone, but really it was like online for quite a while before we then hopped on the phone. She lived in Montreal. I lived in Boise. She was like, hey, I'm in Montreal. Why don't you come out and visit, and we'll actually meet each other in person, whatever. So I ended up flying out there. And by the way, this was early enough in internet days where anytime anyone did anything like this, everybody else was warning you, like, you're about to get murdered. Like, that's a serial killer. You have no idea who you're going to see. Everybody was afraid for me.
If you're going to finish your story, then I'm going to piggyback on the same story. It's a good, carry on. Tell me about how you almost got murdered, because you were right. That's what everyone says all the time.
Yeah.
And we're the guys.
So new.
And we're the guys. We're the ones like, the girls had to get it 18 times worse than us, because they're like, bro, you never know. She could be a hatchet person or a gorilla man. I'm like, wait, what? Like a bush person. I'm like, what? What are these names you're throwing out of me? Bush people? Wait, what? So and as a guy, we at least were guys, So, but dangerous times. Carry on.
So I ended up flying out to Montreal, and she was not a serial killer, and we ended up hitting it off. Everything went well. She had a dual citizenship, so she ended up moving to Boise, because at the end of 2 weeks it was like, all right, well, I still want to see you, you still want to see me, but I can't live in Montreal. So she ended up moving to Boise, and she had lived her life in Montreal. She ended up living to Boise. Woo! And she lasted like maybe 4 months. She's like, I can't do this, dude. Like, this just doesn't work for me. So I ended up getting a student work visa and moving out to Montreal for at least 6 months, and then we'd figure out what we do from there. And Montreal was amazing. Have you ever been to Montreal?
I have for a week, and it is amazing. I need to go back and spend more time. Usually when I go out of the country, I try to spend like a month there, because when it's good, it's great. So and by the way, she pre-loved you, because 4 months is a good time to stick it out. I was gonna give her like 90 days, like a 90-day window of like, yo, bro, do you know where I'm from? Like, do you know where I'm from? Oh. You live in a closet. I live in a McMansion. Come to the McMansion. You'll understand the difference in life. So
I feel so bad for her.
Again, carry on. You get to experience Montreal. Life is good.
Montreal was great. Coming from Boise, like I had lived my entire life in Boise. Going to Montreal was like an eye opener. It was like, whoa, this feel exactly. It felt very European, even though I'd never been to Europe. You know what I mean? But it had this kind of like, it just had this quality to it that I just loved. And when that kind of came to an end, then it was like, all right, well, what do we do now? And that's when we decided to move to San Francisco. We're like, where's a place in the United States where we both actually want to live? That would be exciting. So we ended up moving out to San Francisco. That relationship in San Francisco lasted, I think, another year-ish after we moved there. And then I ended up, breaking it off with her. She's still one of my best friends to this day, one of our best friends to this day. But ended up breaking it off with her and moving in with some guy friends of mine. A couple of years of partying, and then so those are lost years. And then ended up meeting my wife through a mutual friend. They actually went to school. My wife's very tall. I am very tall.
How tall is she?
She's right around 6 foot. She's like 5'11", almost 6 foot.
Chef's kiss. Again, another thing that I say on every show, you can't teach height. You have to breed it in. I love tall women myself. I can teach you anything else. I can teach you ninja, basketball, coding, but I cannot teach height. So tall women, That's how you got. Or tall guys, you got to have a tall. I'm not tall guy. I'm only 6 foot, so I gotta reach for the stars. So good for you. Carry on.
Yeah.
Oh, doctor approved.
And it works. It's a working recipe. Our older daughter, you know, like I said, just turned 12. She's almost the height of my wife, Stacy. So there you go. She's gonna be a tall one.
My daughter's we're in a small town, and she says all the time, I can't talk to any of these guys. They're only like 5'9". I'm like, Lee, they might have a growth spurt. She's like, they won't have enough of a growth spurt. I've got to get out of here. I've made her a heightist. she looks at everybody like she's one of those. I can't have a short guy, but like she's kind of tall too. So she's already like 5'7", 5'8". So, but it's funny, like you said, like it does work. That's like I said, I can do everything else, but I can't teach height.
Yep, indeed.
So you meet the wife.
So yeah, through her friend, her friend was hooking up another friend of hers, and Stacy said, you know, do you have any tall friends? And my other friend Heidi was like, oh my God, I do. And so we ended up going on basically a blind date in San Francisco and hit it off, and the rest is history, you know.
And if you never had the internet chat session, it would have never came around for you.
Bingo. Like, and I look, you know, when we look at our lives and we think of like, you know, I can look at my life and I can see that one moment, that chat room night, literally that night set the path of the rest of my life. If I had not gone into that IRC chat room, I would not have met Tracy, and everything else would not have happened. Right. So my life would be completely different if that hadn't happened.
And it's crazy because even now with like, internet dating and app dating, people talk about how horrible it is to meet somebody and do all these things. Like, I met a girl, it had to be like 1997, 1998, and I met her on ICQ, and I talked to her for like 2 years straight, chatting, rarely on the phone, but kind of on the phone, because that was back when minutes didn't start till 9 o'clock, and not everybody had a cell phone, and I was still in high school, so like the phone wasn't available. But like when I graduated and she graduated, like she flew to see me, and now again, this girl isn't real, you know what I mean? Like blah blah blah, you know. And she was actually
words on a screen.
She was actually very pretty, and whatever. And people were like, it's not real. And so at the end of it, when we first met, she flew up to see me, and she only flew up for the day. So her flight landed in the morning, and she was going to get back on the plane that night, just in case I was a crazy person, you know, whatever. And it was like just a whirlwind day. It was great. And then we ended up keep talking and stuff like that, seeing each other a little bit for like a year or two. And then life happens because she lived in Miami, I lived in Jersey. It was so far away, it just wasn't compatible, feasible. And then this is how people get on Facebook and ruin their whole lives. Now I'm single, okay? So she's been friends of mine on Facebook for a really long time, and like randomly she'll like things and post things or something. Something happened where I messaged her and we started talking, and then like after like 20 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm fucking in high school. Like why do I feel like this? I should not feel this way. This is horrible. I don't like it. And I was like, well, you know, we did the stupid, you know, if you're single and I'm single by 40, we're supposed to get married thing. Like, why are you single? Like, what is going on? And it's just like, and then I talked to her on the phone the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel my heart. I can't, because, you know, I don't have emotions and I don't have a heart, but something that melts my heart makes me feel so. I'm like, and this is why people ruin their lives on Facebook, because that feeling is real once you, if you haven't actuated on it, right? So you met that girl online, you had a relationship, the relationship had its full conclusion, beginning and end, which allows you to move on from it. Now, when you have a high school love or something like that, and you go to Boise State and I go to, you know, Miami University, and we don't see each other again, you lose touch. There's never got closure. Yes, there's no closure. There's no end. Oh no, I lost my camera. How did I lose my camera?
Uh-oh. Change or charge that battery.
It's on.
That's the message I see.
It's on plugged in power. It's plugged into the wall.
Either that or you just shapeshifted into an error message.
I'm gonna see if I can fix it real quick while I'm yelling about my story. So yeah, okay, that's weird. I'm gonna get annoyed about that.
You're a shapeshifter,
but
your shapes.
So it's just funny because that's the reason you still have that feeling, because you never had anything to turn it off or to change it. And when you're when you feel like that, you're like, man, I still feel exactly the same. Okay, cool. But you're married now and you got kids. You're not supposed to be feeling that way anymore. And you're like, I never loved Susie because I never felt like this for Susie. And you're like, no, bro, you're an adult now. You gotta let it go.
Yeah, get some closure on that.
Yeah, you gotta get closure, because if you don't get closure, that, man, I tell you, like I said, I'm a robot, and the way I felt, I was like, man, this is how people get in trouble. I was like, I can't control this right now. What is going on?
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely funny, because the thing about that is too, just the same way you and I have a friendship. We're not in the same space. We don't see each other all the time, but whenever I speak to you, it's like you're a buddy across the street. Like, and I would see, you know what I mean? Because we jump right into conversations. It's never awkward. We're always laughing. We're always having fun. It's always positive.
Agreed.
And so when you have the internet, like when you meet people that you vibe with, it doesn't matter when you don't talk to them all the time or see them all the time.
Yeah.
Because you have the opportunity to see tweets, see posts, see the family, see the kids. And that's like, you know, people like watch Leah. Like Leah, I took Leah to California and she met, you know, digital aunts and uncles that have literally watched her since birth, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's nice to meet you." You know, just like
crazy.
Just like a grandparent or somebody who hasn't seen her since she was a baby. And they're like, and for her, it's like, she's like, "Wow," she's like, they love me. I was like, Leah, they've literally watched.
They know you.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I understand some people keep their kids off the internet, things like that. I was like, but I'm overly sharing all the time. So they've seen you talk and videos and your sound and your little personality. So it's very interesting. Like the first time she met someone that she had never met before, and they're like hugging her, like, "I love you." She's like, "I didn't do anything." She's like, "They think I'm great." And I'm like, yeah. So it's very interesting. Like, so when people complain about, you know, the internet and digital relationships and how awkward and weird things are, I'm like, man, it's also a great, like, when you find your space and you find your people, it's great. And it's definitely a fun time. How long you been over there at Twit?
Well, let's see here. I started at Twit in September 2010, I believe. So, holy moly, I will be closing in on 12 years here, I guess, come September.
And what was the
It's
job?
a long time. That's longer than I've been at any job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was the job before Twit?
CNET. I worked for CNET. So basically, to fill in a quick gap here, after I met Stacy, my wife, probably like a year after I met her, I started back to school. I recognized that I could actually go to school for something I enjoyed. Like, school didn't have to be this thing that I just did out of obligation. I could actually learn something useful that I really was passionate about.
The love of a good woman will motivate a man.
Very true. Fair. I mean, totally fair. I mean, that's exactly what happened to me, right?
Definitely what happened. You were aloof your whole life, and then you got a good woman, and she said, "You know, I love you and all, but you know, you might want to use this brain for 32 seconds and stop oogling me like this. Go get yourself together."
But believe me, when she met me, she wanted me to use my brain for more than what I was using it for at the time.
Exactly.
And so I went to school for audio. My purpose was that I was going to go to school for audio production and work in a recording studio. That was kind of my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't end up in a recording studio, of course, but I did go and learn all about audio production, media production, and media studies and everything, and ended up getting an internship at CNET ultimately. And that turned into a full-time job. But when I started at CNET, it was right at the beginning of podcasting. It was 2005, so podcasting was just kind of a fresh word. Buzz Out Loud was the show that was just picking up steam at CNET, and I was working on the business side of CNET, the B2B side, and Buzz Out Loud on the consumer side needed a producer. Veronica Belmont had been producing it, and her role was kind of transforming, and so they needed a producer. And Tom Merritt said, "Hey, you wanna produce Buzz Out Loud?" Because had some conversations with him about a few things prior, and so I ended up doing that. So it was podcasting at CNET 2005, 2010, and then over to Twit.
We love Veronica. We love Tom Merritt. Tom's great. Tom is my mortal enemy. As it were. I don't know if you've heard
How
this.
is Tom's anyone enemy? I don't understand.
Oh, you don't know this? I love giving my campaign against Tom Merritt. Good, so you don't know. Again, something. There's certain tropes that I repeat all the time throughout life, and this is one of my tropes, my favorite things.
One of them.
Tom. Okay, so I am a witty, charismatic character with a photographic memory, which means that I don't really learn anything. I just retain information, then regurgitate it and make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'm fully aware of this, okay? But when you meet somebody like Tom Merritt, who is also witty, who also has a photograph memory, he doesn't tell people this, but he does. There's no way in the world he can retain the information that he does if he didn't. But he also has total recall across multiple genres, okay? So he's crazy. Literally me on steroids. I'm out here making a joke. It is a solid joke. Everyone laughs. He double entendres my joke, which makes you think and then deeper, and it makes you laugh harder. And I'm like, you just stole the thunder that I possessed for 4 seconds, Tom Merritt. And he does it all the time on everything, on every subject. And I can't stand Tom Merritt. He is the worst person on the internet. He is my mortal enemy. I will tell anyone that listens, he is not the amazing, wonderful, special, kind, joyous, with a lovely wife. He's not that guy, okay? The wife is lovely. Tom Merritt is a scourge on the internet, and I need people to file in line with me and join my fight against Tom Merritt. It's a losing battle. I've been putting it on for 10 years.
Battle. Yeah,
I've been fighting
on that one every day.
I've been fighting this for 10 years, and I am uphill. I am pushing the boulder uphill. It is not working out for me, but I can't stand how much I love Tom Merritt, and that's the end of my rant about Tom. But it's just annoying. It really is. Like,
I understand.
Yeah,
he's impossible to beat. You'll never, I'm sorry to tell you this. You already know it, but you will never beat Tom Merritt. He will always be one step ahead.
Right. And again, you saw this in 2005. I know he was always like that. He was born like this. He came out of the womb like, hey, are you going to cut that? You want me to do it for you? I know.
He's sharp. He was sharp that entire time.
It literally makes me sick. Because like I said, there are a few joys and things that I can hang my hat on. And my wit and my presence and my aura is one of them. And when you meet someone else who does the same thing, but they're actually a genius, it enrages your heart. Like, I'm like, my God, like, you got to be smart too. Like, just shut up, Tom. Just shut up.
You know, as you talk about this, I realize it's been, maybe threatening is the wrong word, but it's been intimidating for me because my career has always kind of been led. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for Tom, right? Like, he was the one that literally said, hey, Jason, want to do this podcast thing? And I remember him saying, podcast is just starting. Like, you're getting in, to Buzz Out Loud at a really exciting time. I remember him saying, you can ride the wave of podcasting if you do this. And that was just an exciting thing. So I've always kind of been operating at least through CNET and a large part through Twit, because he was the one that pulled me over to Twit, kind of operating in the shadow of Tom, right? Like, Tom was the reason that I was there to begin with. And I was making my own name and everything. Yeah. But to have him as the example, like, oh man, like, he is so damn good at what he does. And he makes it look so easy. And there were so many times it was like, God, I don't think that I'm smart enough to do this because you are so fucking smart.
His wings are large, and he is a fire-breathing dragon. He is not the heavenly angel wing that people think. He is a fire-breathing dragon, and his wingspan, he took you underneath his wings and helped guide you along. But he is a dragon. Again, Tom Merritt is a scourge upon the internet, and I will die saying so as many times as possible. What's your favorite?
Internet's better with him.
What's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food? Oh boy, I love a good paella. It's not a food that I have a lot, but man, when I do and it's good, like, there's just nothing better. It's always just this huge heaping bowl of paella, and I could just, oh man, I could eat that. I don't care if I'm full. I will eat that till it's gone.
So, first of all, I am concentrated chef. I only make about 20 or 30 dishes amazingly, but I make them better than anyone else. And the first time I had paella, I thought to myself, man, this is a gumbo BS pot of something I could get behind. And I flew to Puerto Rico mostly just hang out with these couple of ladies, but I flew there to learn the ways and the machinations of paella and perfect it on my own. And it is great. It is so great even that when I make it, I make a trough of it, and then I invite people over and I just give them a bowl, because you can't not make it stewing in its own juices. So you have to like make a lot of it. And I'm like, dude, I chocolate with so much crab and shrimp. I was like, I can eat it hot. I can eat it cold. I can eat it lukewarm. Like just right out of the fridge, just scoop it. It is so good. It is such a, if you haven't had it, I can't even describe it to you. Just Google it, look at it, and then drool at the pictures, because no matter how they make it with shrimp, mussels, crab, oysters, sausage,
whatever
chicken,
they put in
peas, like it's, I guess you just throw
the paprika.
Yes, you just throw everything in there. You let it simmer, and then you just destroy it because it's so lovely. Are you a dessert guy?
What's that?
Are you a dessert guy?
Am I a dessert guy? Yes, I am. The unfortunate thing is, as I've grown older, I've realized that I have some sensitivities around dairy.
Okay.
Which is kind of a stab, like a knife to the heart, because I love like a nice, rich, creamy chocolate ice cream. Like it's just so good. And now when I do that, it's like I have to be okay with a little bit
The
of pain afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I make that decision. My wife sometimes not very happy about that, but sometimes I'm like, you know what, worth the pain. I'm gonna go ahead and have a little bit of a stomach ache because I want the now enjoyment of this bowl of ice cream or whatever. But yeah.
May the world never know me not allowed to have dairy, because if I had your situation, or if I had any affliction towards dairy, I would become a tyrant. I would be a real life supervillain, and I would destroy half of the planet before I was stopped. That's how much I love dairy.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is. But my heart is beating for you right now. I feel for you, because I couldn't imagine, brother. It's like
yeah. I mean, I probably should reduce dairy to like a very minimal part of my diet, but I have a hard time bringing myself to do it, because I've loved it my entire life. I've always been really big into cheese, and that's a hard one for me to get rid of.
You have a family. You cannot reduce joy in your life. You got to stay positive for these kids, for the wife. So you got to stay at a point where everybody can still be happy. So you keep suffering with the dairy as much as you possibly can. What's your favorite electronic right now? We're all into the technology and gadgetries today. Did you get the S22 yet? Did you order it?
You know what? I did. I actually just got the S22 Ultra. Hold on. Yeah, I just got it for review from an AT&T rep. I haven't even set it up, but yeah, this is the S22 Ultra with the S Pen.
So quick note on that together. Just talk about it. I feel like they should just stop making the Note. I feel like this is okay. So that's it. That's done. All right.
As far as I know.
All right.
I mean, put a fork in it. The Note.
Yeah.
But it's like air quotes. The Note is done.
Yeah.
However,
this is the Note.
If someone was to give this phone to you and say this is the new Note, you wouldn't know the difference. Yeah. Like literally, it's the same thing.
Yeah. It's is it smaller than the other Note, the last Note? That's the only thing. I think it might be slightly smaller. I might be wrong about that, but I'm like, stop making a Note. I'm tired of A, B, and C, D, F, R phone. Like, just give me like 3 phones. I just need 3 phones. Like in your little flagship name. There's too many differentiated old things and like that. So you're pulling out the Note to see the difference. Same.
Okay. Same.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
They are the same. So let's see here. So line them up. Yep. They're exactly the same, actually.
It's the new Note. Note's dead. So yeah, we just stopped calling it a Note, and we pull it all together. And I like that so much more. I appreciate that so much more. So
yeah, it's a beautiful device. They're really big, and which is fine. I've gotten really used to big phones, but like my wife, she was a kind of in an interim place. Her Pixel wasn't working very well, and we were waiting for the new Pixel and everything. So I had her using the last Note,
Yeah.
and I mean, it was too
Yeah.
massive for her.
I
So you
use
got to
the-
be okay with a
yeah.
very large
I
phone.
use the Max. The problem is just that finger track thing that you get sometimes pushing all the way
Yeah.
up that drives you a little bit crazy. How tall are you?
I've always been 6'8", but as the last couple of years, I've realized anytime I measure myself, I'm more 6'7". So I think I'm compressing a little bit. So I'm 6'7".
All right, well, you know, it's because you have to deal with short people all the time. This is my
Yeah.
assumption for people that are tall. It's not that you're shrinking; it's that you look down so much at everyone in life that
Yeah.
the hunchback starts receding and pulling you to the earth, because it's like, dang it, if I got to go down 3 more inches to talk to you,
Yeah.
start going
Yeah.
down. So,
So very true. So true.
I've met you. I know that you're tall, but when I just had Jeff Jarvis on, I've never met Jeff. I've only
He's tall
seen
too.
I've only seen Jeff like in pictures or on conference things where he's always in a chair, or
Yeah.
he's on Skype and chat and he's always sitting down. And he told me he was 6'4", and I like started cussing. I was like, what? I was like, he's like, you didn't. I was like, how would I know, Jeff? How would I know? You're in a room where your wall is 42 feet behind you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
I
right.
don't know. Like, you know what I mean? So I had him stand up, and I was like, go walk to the bookshelf. Then I'll know. If I saw you come through a doorway, I would know. You know what I mean? I was like, but how am I supposed
And
to
he
know?
ducks through the doorway,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I had him walk back to the shelf, and I'm like, okay, now I got some perspective on life, and I know how tall you are. So
Yeah, the dude's tall.
oh
Yes.
yeah.
I've walked a few Google I/Os with him, and it's definitely, I mean, as a tall person, I know I'm with someone who's tall because I recognize in myself that I suddenly become a lot taller. It's
Yeah.
like you said, I'm so used to like the 80 to 95% of the people that I talk to being not just shorter than me, but a lot shorter than me,
Yeah.
that I end up doing the little rounded back thing to get closer to them and everything.
They're
The second
literally
I start
almost 12
standing next to someone who's near my height,
eye
I'm like
level.
the tallest person ever.
Yeah. And you're literally talking down almost a foot to most people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's on average, let alone when you're, you know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
definitely different. And it's so funny, like, taller people look taller, you feel taller. Like, I used to go to the bar, and I call them my skyscrapers. My one buddy was 6'4", the other one was 6'3", and they're both two white guys. And it would look like I had security with me every time we go to the bar, because they were just two jacked, giant dudes. You know what I mean? And people were like, oh, what are you, like 6'2"? And I'm like, no, I am not. But I look taller because I was with them.
Because you're with them, right?
People were thinking they're like 6'5", 6'9", or something. You know what I mean? I was like, no. I was like, no, I'm short. I'm just at times like probably 5'10", 5'11". I was like, I'm not even 6 foot yet. You know what I mean? Let me go put on some platform Prince boots and let me jack it up to 6'1" at least. But it is definitely a nice perception, and it's one of those things you notice too, because they both have brothers, obviously, who are as tall as them, and
Yeah.
watching them talk to each other, dude. If I don't feel like a fucking child talking to anyone, seeing another 2 6 foot plus people talk to each other, you're looking up at them and they're looking eye to eye, and you're like this, and you're like, yeah. And then they look down at you, and I'm like, God, don't look at me. You know what? Don't even talk to me. I am not, like, I know girls like looking up at tall guys and whatever, but I literally felt like I was 6 years old asking someone to get me cereal off a shelf. And I'm like, oh my God, I am a small man.
What you are describing right there, I think you just did a really great job of describing a phenomenon that I have experienced in my life. I've only talked to a handful of people who are taller than me. Like I've seen a decent amount of people who are actually taller than me. Of course, 6'8" is not like the tallest ever, but it's pretty tall.
Yeah, it's at the top echelon.
But how many times have I actually gotten into like a true conversation with someone who's taller than me? Not very many. When it happens, it's really weird for me.
Yeah.
It's like disconcerting. It pulls me out of the conversation. I have a hard time connecting to the conversation because my entire experience of talking with pretty much anyone in my life is looking down to some degree. The second I have to start looking up, which is what most people have to do when they talk
Yeah.
to me, exactly, you put it perfectly. I feel like a kid.
Yeah.
Like looking up at my parents or something, and it takes me out of the conversation. I'm like, sometimes I have to apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I'm having a really hard time concentrating because I'm looking up.
Dude, like I said, I grew up in it, and I dealt with it, and most of the time I dealt with it by making them sit down. Like, like you sit down, and I'm gonna stand here, and we're gonna speak like adults. Okay, you sit down so we can talk like adults. Because again, it instantly makes you realize, like, man, I'm not even a tall guy. I'm only 6 foot, and everybody looks up to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least look to me in my eyes. So again, like what you're saying, like it is so disconcerting. And then when you live in a lifestyle of not having to do it, it really makes you feel some sort of way. Like I said, my aunt is 5'2". She looks up at everybody. You know what I mean? She gets a stepladder, gets to all the shelves. She doesn't know anything else except for talking to an infant than to look up at everyone. So it doesn't affect her at all.
No,
you know
that's
what
her
I mean?
life.
Like, so it's definitely something that's weird, and it's something that most people don't have to deal with. And like I said,
no, totally. It's like tall guy problems. Like most people wouldn't even understand that, but
it makes me,
I feel it.
It makes
me
feel good that it makes you feel that way too, though. Even though knowing that you're as tall as you are, knowing that feeling isn't just because I try to explain that to other people that are like my height, and they're like, what do you mean? It's just what I was like, no, it is not okay. Like it's not it is not normal. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, especially when they're like one-on-one, it was never a problem. But watching tall people talk to each other, I'm like,
then turn to you.
You literally like start to turn, and I'm like, this is not okay, and I'm not all right with it. So yeah, how do we solve world peace on the way out? We're just the last question. How do we get peace on Earth? I know that you're the only man with the answer to save the human race. You've been breathing rarefied air. You have a direct satellite to the alien nation. I know that they tap in. This is just a cover for you. So tell me how to fix it. I'll go out this weekend, implement the system, and save the planet. What say you, Jason?
I don't know how to save the planet, but I know what's worked for me for the last few years. I've done a lot of work on myself and understanding myself better. And I think really it's just being open to learning new things about yourself, and take a deep breath every once in a while and accept that you don't always have the right answer. And that's okay.
That is a great response to my ridiculous question. Stacy, if your husband has made you watch this and you happen to stay this long, which he shouldn't make you watch, this is ridiculous. We are going to get the kids into ninja school. We're going to have them jumping out of closets with swords. Let's get this going this summer. I'm on board. What say you, Stacy? Jason has no opposition to this at all whatsoever. I have tricked him and brainwashed him. If you are not convinced yet, Jason, please call me on the phone and give me 62 seconds to annoy her into saying, okay, fine, Owen, we'll give it a try, because I am good at bullying people verbally. I am the best, Jason. So I've got your back. And Stacy, love that you're tall. Never met you, but I love you already. I know you're doing a great job over there keeping this guy in line. You got him thinking right, getting his life together. You know, you saved this man. You know you saved this man. I am your boy, Owen JJ Stone, KO Doctor. This is Jason Howell. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you, Jason, so much. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you, Owen. This is a pleasure. So much fun. You're awesome. I really do look up to you. So thank you.
That was home. That was Tom Merritt-esque. I'm out.
Learn from the best.